So welcome to the very first class of our homeschool course of art, virtual art. And I am super excited to start with this butterfly painting, which requires actually only sponges and one little brush. And we are going to get started with our sponges. Now with the sponge, we need to make sure that it is damp. It's already soft, but it's not like, I can't squeeze it and get any drops out of it. It should not be like really wet. It just should be soft and a little damp. If it's not, I mean, when I say damp, it just means that it's softer. So we're gonna take that and we're gonna get started with doing the background. The background.
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
How long is this?
I think that we'll be able to go with this one pretty fast.
Okay.
Okay?
Cause I have to go back to my school after this.
Okay. So do you want it to go longer or do you want it to go shorter?
Shorter.
Okay. Well then, let's jump into it. So we're gonna take our sponge right here and I'm gonna get paint on it, and the edge that I'm not using the very top of the sponge, I'm not using the whole flat side of the sponge, I'm using this top edge of the sponge is where I'm gonna be putting paint. So when I say I'm gonna grab some paint, I'm going to dip just that top edge corner, you see that? Into the paint, right there. So this is just straight blue that I'm gonna get on my sponge. And then I'm coming over to my canvas and I'm gonna do a push and drag motion on my canvas. Our darker colors are gonna be on either end of our canvas. So we're gonna start with just our straight blue and we'll do like a stripe of straight blue on either side. So I'm just gonna come to the canvas, get right lined up here, and then just pull it straight down. And the nice thing about the sponge is that I can really push differently than if it was a brush. A brush we'd be more gentle with. But a sponge, I can just push straight down and do a nice stripe of blue. So on my 8x10, this is about a 2.5, 3 inch one. Also a tip, if you start to see little white specks or dots, right, like that, or it starts to get that streaky, that just means you don't have enough paint and you can get more paint. But as long as you have a nice solid coat of the blue, that's fine. But yeah, whenever you see where it looks really spotty, it just means you need a little more paint. Yes, Aunt, yeah. Yep, just like that. And so now we do one side and now we're going to do the other. We're going to work our way to the center of our canvas. So we're going to do another stripe of blue just on the opposite side of the canvas. Just like that. I'm not worried about, I'm going to be putting some more color on either side. So it's okay that it's a little streaky on the inside of my stripe. And you will notice sometimes painting from the side, some of my paintings try to do sideways, but I will try to adjust for that. Okay, so we have 2 blue stripes. All right, now, yep, perfect. Yep. Now, without me having to dip any more blue, because I've already got a lot of blue on my sponge, right? I'm going to grab some white. By going ahead and grabbing white straight onto this, when we do our next streak, the blue that's already in the sponge is going to mix with the white, and we're going to get a lighter blue. So all I have to do now is do the same thing on that same edge, and it looks like I just have solid white. But now, when I go and do another stripe, and I push down, that blue goes straight through. Blue is a very saturated color in paint, and it will go right through. I've had it sometimes, or if I even have a little bit of blue in my water and I use a brush and try and dip into paint, I've gotten light blue paint still. That blue is so strong. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do 2 stripes of the light blue. So we work towards the center of the canvas. And like I said, with the sponge, you can really push down, kind of scrub it in there and make sure that that is all the way in there. So now I've got kind of a lighter blue, darker blue. It looks like I've got white in the center right now. Now what we're gonna do is this time we're gonna make kind of this, it's a gray, that gray blue color that's in the center, and then we'll also do some white streaks kind of on either side of it. But we're gonna start first. I think, yeah, all we have to do is grab, again, just a little bit. We've already got a lot of blue on that sponge, but a little bit of blue, and this time it's just the tiniest, I mean, we're talking, you can barely see it, but just the tiniest little bit of red. So when this red that we have, this red actually has a little bit of yellow in it as well. So because red, yellow, and blue, when you mix together, kind of gets brown or a little gray colored, this gives us kind of a gray blue, but we're trying to, that's why we don't need a lot of red, we want to still have it to be blue. So this is our first color mixing. Don't want to have a red streak, but here's the deal. With acrylic paints, it doesn't matter. If you mess up, it can easily be covered back over. That's one of the things I love about acrylic paints, is they're actually very forgiving. So this one, we're gonna just take right through the center. And even mine, I'm so scared of putting too much red. Mine didn't get quite gray enough, and I can always go and grab and just pull that straight down in the center, right there. The last little bits, I'm just gonna grab a whole bunch of white and try not to push down too much, but just kind of streak it down and kind of blend between the light blue and that new blue. Basically, we're just giving lots of different variations of blue in this background, which is really great. The more you push down, the more it will blend and probably pull out more color. The less you push down, you can kind of create these little, let me get you closer to my painting, you'll need to see the example as much. Here we go. And kind of get these white streaks right here. So I've grabbed white now, just white on that edge, and I'm kind of just pulling a little bit of white streaks to kind of blend between all the different lines. So it doesn't look so much like striped wallpaper, you know, and we want it to look a little more. And if you get too much, you're like, oh no, I got too much of that, then you grab just the plain blue and put some back. That is absolutely fine. No messing up, we can figure it out. The other thing I like about using the sponge is that you really don't have to glob a lot of paint on there, which allows us to have a very thin layer of paint, which will hopefully dry very quickly. Sometimes art is delayed the most by waiting for paint to dry, which is tough, but you know, it is what it is. So sometimes we're just sitting around watching paint dry. A handy tool to have is actually a hair dryer that has a cool button on it that you can blow. Basically, it's just blowing air on the canvas. We don't use the heat button because heat will make the acrylic start to crack, because acrylic is actually liquid plastic, is what we're really painting with, is liquid plastic. And so heat would actually make that start to shrink and crack. And we don't want that. I mean, that probably could be a technique if you were going for that, but it would also crack and fall off of the canvas. So I'm going to stop right here where I am. A handy thing also, so I probably could use this sponge again, but if you weren't going to use the sponge again, a lot of times I'll have a cup of water ready and I'll just go ahead and set it in the cup and let it just sit there so it won't harden and dry. Once acrylic dries, it is permanent. So it will not come out. Although if you get any, washing off your hands is easy. If you get it on your clothes, I have found that rubbing alcohol can help get it out, or any brushes. If you soak it in rubbing alcohol, can soften and dissolve that. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you, so you've got your canvases, if you still have your, with the sponge, it really finishes off the edge sometimes if you go ahead and paint the edge. So while we're letting the main part of our canvas dry, if you just take the sponge and it's just gonna be a basic blue, whatever blue is coming out, you just kind of scrub that all along there and you just finish off all of the edges. That makes it done and finished. And honestly, I don't do anything more than just put a push pin on the wall and hang up my painting. I don't frame it any more than that. This is making it look like the pretty gallery wrapped paintings that they have, and it's actually very easy to do with a sponge, to just scrub that right in there.
Excuse me?
Yes, yes.
I messed up a lot on this.
Okay, so let's see here. All right, so what I want you to do is, for one, you gotta try to see if you're, it looks like you've got a lot of paint. So I want you to use your sponge to really just make sure you do good long strokes going straight down and kind of blend some of that out and get some of that extra paint kind of blended. And then once we have that, then maybe we'll do some more streaks of white, okay? So if you see you do have a lot of paint on there, which is very easy to do, especially with a sponge. It's easy to just scoop up a whole bunch, and it actually holds a lot of paint. Very thorough. So yeah, so what I want you to do is you're going to use your sponge to almost kind of like sponge off that extra. You can even wipe any extra onto the edge of your plate, like that, and kind of just blend that in. It's okay if it even ends up being one color. We can go back and add some of the other colors back in if you want.
Okay.
All right. Lucas, you doing good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see how it looks now after you've been able to kind of blend some down.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. How much paint is there on there?
Not that much.
Not that much? Okay, that's good. Yeah, and some of this background is going to be covered up by the butterfly anyway. So if you are just still being able to see some different shades of colors, right, and it's not like too globbed on there, that's going to be able to dry, then we'll be able to move on to the next thing. I think it'll be okay. Do you think you want to move on to just do your edge real quick?
I already did that.
Good. Yay, I didn't see that. It was hard for me to tell. So yeah, we're at the point where we're just waiting for the background to dry, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our chalk to put the outline of our butterfly. So at this point, you wouldn't add any more paint. If anything, you're just going to be blending it and making sure that it's well distributed and maybe even getting any excess off. You feel better about the background now? You feel better?
Yes.
Okay, good. How close do you think it is to being dry? Is it still pretty wet?
Not that wet.
Good. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, the old-fashioned way of just taking our painting and fanning it. Yeah, we do that sometimes too. I mean, it's like we're in church or something, you know, we're just fanning ourselves, fanning away.
It's so funny.
So sometimes you just have to do that. So I'm gonna wait maybe another minute, and you let me know if you can touch the center of your canvas and not get paint on you, okay? As soon as you can touch the center and not get paint on you, then we're ready to do our next thing. All right, and like I said, sometimes the thing that will delay a painting is sometimes just waiting for parts to dry. A lot of times that's the toughest part with the background. Once we start working on the painting itself, if you've ever seen an artist, you'll see they'll work on one section and they'll go to another area and then they'll go back and you're like, why can't they just finish? Sometimes what they're doing is they're letting an area dry, working on another part, and then they're returning back to it once it's dried. But they just kind of bounce around. It's like, why are they going everywhere? No, they're just moving around, and as areas dry, they can return and do the next layer. Acrylic painting is all about layers. It's about adding the next layer, the next layer. Our eyes really love that top layer, and most people feel like, oh man, I cannot paint. Well, maybe they just stopped too soon. They didn't start adding enough detail. So that's one of the things that you'll see as we do some of our paintings, is that I always like to say there's an ugly stage to every painting. There's a part where you go, this looks like a mess, and I want to stop. That's the point where we have to actually push through it and keep going to the next layer, and then you start to see things come together. So I promise it's not as big a mess as you think if we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it.
Oh, and I like that sunflower picture behind you.
You like that one? Yeah. That's a fun one.
How long did it take you to do that?
Huh?
How long did it take you to make that picture?
I've actually taught that one. So,
that's cool.
I think that one was, again, with drying time, stuff like that. That one took more like a 2-hour class, but it wasn't still too bad. So I'm glad you can see some of the different ones. The reason there's holes on the wall is that the butterfly painting is normally right there. And the painting that we're going to do to next week, I already took down, and that normally goes right there. So.
All right. Do you put everything you paint on your wall?
Yeah. Do you want it, like, you want to see my walls? Like, do you want to?
Oh my God, that's a lot.
You want to? Welcome to my art studio. Yeah, I got a lot of paintings on my walls. I'm running out of room. That's part of why I'm only painting on tiny canvases now, because I don't have enough room for big ones. All right, so I think that should be enough time to let your canvas be dry. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our chalk. I'm gonna use our chalk to give us some guidelines for our butterfly wings. So in this center color is where the center of our butterfly is gonna be. And we are going to draw something very easy. We're gonna do kind of like a T, it's like a cross, kind of an X, but really it's an X. We're just gonna do it. X marks the spot. Draw an X right in the center of your canvas. X marks the spot. All right, so this is now gonna give us some quadrants that we're going to draw from. Looking at this center line is going to be where our butterfly body is. And our wings are going to come out of the four different sections. So I'm going to take this first V quadrant. I'm going to put my, oh, and by the way I get this sharpened is I can actually just sharpen it in a big pencil sharpener to get a sharp chalk. But I'm going to put my chalk right here, and I'm going to be drawing just a arced line that's going to go all the way off the canvas from this center part. So I'm going to just take it here and just go whoop, right there, just like that. Just one line from the center part of the X. Next, I'm going to come to this next center part here. No, actually, no, we'll stay in the same quadrant. Making sure that it's still staying within that X quadrant area, I'm going to do another one that is going to swoop this way. So that's two parts of the butterfly wing. Our butterfly wings, we're not going to see the very edge of. They actually go off of our canvas. We're doing a very close-up of our butterfly. So that makes it so that we don't have to feel like it has to be perfectly symmetrical, which is great. Okay, next one, we're going to do from this center, we're going to do a arc over and down. And then finish out, we're going to go the opposite way. From that same center point. It's nice that we're staying, everything's coming from that same center point of the X. And we're going to curve that out. Again, I don't see the edge of my butterfly wing. That's kind of off the canvas. All right, let's go over to the other side. I'm gonna go this quadrant, and this one is gonna arc way over here. Like that. And then it's gonna curve that way. And this one, again from that same center point, curve down and around. So that gives us our basic butterfly shape. Now the great thing about chalk, if I don't like a line that I did, watch. I just wipe that thing right off and I can try again. Chalk is very forgiving when it comes to that. We can also paint over chalk. So the moisture of our paint will make chalk dissolve. So I don't even have to wipe off these lines for us to do the next painting stage. So if one point you're like, I don't really like, so I make sure that you've maintained that one part of the X, right? That's going to be that center body right there. That's kind of our line. And then the other part of the X is just to help us place the wing spots. You have any questions? You guys see that? So we've got our 4 different butterfly wings. Yep, okay. All right, so we grab our paint and our sponge again. We will not need the chalk anymore. That was just for our guidelines. So we're still using our sponges. I can go ahead and use the one that I was using anyway, honestly, because we're still using the same color. We're not messing up anything. If we just go ahead, we're going to grab just straight blue again. And just straight blue onto the edge of mine. Now before, with our background, we were doing straight up and down strokes. This time, I'll use one that doesn't have paint so I don't paint my hand. This time we're going to be using the edge and doing kind of more of a sideways stroke with it. So it'll be more like drawing lines instead of a big flat stroke. So this time it's going to be going more sideways onto our canvas. We'll be arcing and kind of being able to draw with the edge of our sponge. Oops, sorry. Here we go. So I'm going to take my sponge now, and I'm going to use the edge with the paint on it and follow that chalk line for the butterfly wing. And it's okay if it completely erases it, that's fine. Sometimes I don't quite get it right on there and I have a little bit of chalk left over. That also we can wipe right off when we are done. So this, now I'm going to start to fill in a little bit of the wing with streaks of this blue. I'm not going to do it all the way. I want to be able to put in other colors, but I've got, so it's not a solid blue. I did do kind of solid for the edge of the wing and a little more solid near the base of the wing. But then I just kind of streaked it out to the edge of the wing, right like that. So for all of the wings, we're just going to be grabbing just some of our solid blue, following our guideline with our sponge edge, like that. One going down. And then we kind of start to streak the blue. And all the streaks are going like from the center of the wing where it attaches to the body kind of away. So all of our motions, whichever wing you're doing, you're going to streak away from that point where it attaches to the body. Probably would be helpful if I knew all of the technical anatomy terms of a butterfly, but you know, that's not in this class. You guys have your own science classes, I'm sure that you learned that. So in this one, I got a little more solid. That's okay. I'm still going to be streaking some other colors through that. So like I said, we're just following those guidelines. So that gives us a lot more confidence. If we didn't have those chalk lines, I would probably have very misshapen butterfly, honestly. Any tool an artist uses to get it in, it's not cheating. It is absolutely using the tools at your disposal to make it work. So, scrub, 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 get that blue in. So there's some, if they were just doing a normal painting, maybe if you were in elementary school, you would fill in this and you'd say, okay, I've got a butterfly, you do the body, and you'd say you were done. This is the point where we go from elementary level coloring in to artist level layers and colors and shading. And that is really what makes this kind of pop. Because as you can see, the difference between my example over there and the one we've done right now looks very different. It looks very, very different. All right, so I'm going to pause right here and see if you need any help, if anyone has any questions. Like I said, the chalk guidelines really are very helpful because you know exactly where your wings are. Also, if there's ever a part where you look at the wing and you're like, I kind of wish that it was a little bigger right here, but that's not where the chalk line is, it's okay for you to add just a little bit. I have done that before as I'm making it, as I'm filling in, I go, that's kind of not quite the shape I wanted, and you can fix it. And like I said, I do go faster just so that I can be available for questions or seeing how you're doing. So do not feel stressed at all. But we're gonna go fast because someone requested that.
I'm doing kind of good.
Okay. Let me see. Good, yes, yes, yes. And it's absolutely fine even if they end up being solid, because we're gonna go back in just a little bit and we're gonna add in some light colors. We're gonna add in some black for some shading. So this is still kind of the base. So we've done
Are we gonna do all of this in one day?
Yes, oh yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had kids last night that were much younger than you that did this.
Mhm.
So, but I think you're going to do a great job.
Okay.
So once you have the base blue in, then let me know so I know where we are. Yep, good. Yep, I see it, Ann.
So I messed up really, really, really bad.
Let me see. No, you haven't.
Right on this wing, I messed up.
How? Where?
Because I think I made it too straight.
Okay, so you're not liking the shape of the wing?
Yes, but it's fine.
If you want to, all you need to do is if you want to round it out more, you can just come and use your sponge,
Mhm.
kind of go at the edge and kind of go in kind of an arc on either side. You can do that.
No, I made these two wings like connect together, so it looks really weird.
No, it's okay. Yeah, a butterfly in flight, we don't see it exactly. It's not this is a butterfly that's moving. It's going to look a certain way. So you just have it at a different angle. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I promise. This is where I say that it's not a wrong way to do this. Sometimes you have to. I've had some students, they're like, mine looks terrible. I said, no, we're just going to create the story that goes with your painting, and then it's fine.
Well, I'm not really good at painting anyway, so if it turns out bad, I'm not going to be surprised.
I think you can surprise yourself also because you're trying something new, and you might be surprised that you do better than you know. And this is also just our first class. You can have grace for yourself on the first class, and then let's see how you feel on class 10. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do kind of like what we did with the background, is we're gonna do make a lighter blue. So I already have the blue in the sponge. Again, this is why I like doing this. It's very monochromatic painting. I don't have to feel like I keep rinsing this out. We just use the blue that's already in there. And now I'm gonna have this lighter blue. And this time what I'm gonna do is it's gonna be more just kind of streaked. Here, let me get you guys closer. There we go. Streaked more kind of in the center of my wing. And
So mine isn't dry yet, so I'm gonna have to wait.
Okay, it doesn't have to be completely dry, because if you go ahead and have some white, just go ahead and have the white, and it will blend already on the wing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because these are not colors that are going to blend and muddy together. They're actually going to blend and look better together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you, what I want you to do is I want you to be very light with your pressure then. So don't really push really hard, kind of keep it more on the surface. And so this we're going to do kind of more in the center of the wing, these little lighter streaks. But I still want to make sure that I still see some of the blue that we put in before. You okay?
What?
You all right?
Oh no, I just did something wrong, but it looks a little better than I thought it would be.
Oh, so maybe it wasn't wrong. Maybe it was a happy mistake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. You guys are too young. I mean, you may know of Bob Ross, but he always talked about happy little mistakes all the time. And I grew up watching him paint these amazing paintings in like hardly any time. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And he talked about, happy little mistakes. That happens. So yeah, so we're pulling in just some lighter streaks, but I still see some of my blue from before. Again, the motion is, so I'm not having to push really hard. It's just kind of a lighter pull little streaks in the center of these wings. So this is another layer. So our first layer is that blue, that darker blue. Now we're adding a lighter blue, which is starting to give us more dimension to these butterfly wings. Some areas, if you're like, man, like, okay, I can show you this wing got a little lighter than this wing over here. So I'm gonna look and go, maybe I wanna add back a little bit of that darker blue again. And I can, no problem. If I went a little too crazy with my lighter color, I can just grab some of that darker blue and just go and blend some back over again. So that I didn't mess up, see? I just needed to put back some of that other layer. So I did not mess up. There's no messing up. We're not allowed to say we messed up. We don't quit, we don't mess up, we keep going and we follow the process. When you're done with that, and again, don't keep streaking. This requires just a few light streaks and then you kind of leave it, because we are going for like a streaky look. If you keep wiping and wiping and wiping, it's just going to blend into one color. So if you see that it's starting to do that, you may need to, again, maybe grab some of the darker color again, put it back in, maybe go back with some of the light. You can kind of balance that out. But a mistake is if you just keep streaking, it's just going to be one solid color, which is not what we're going for. It's not a bad look, but just not what we're doing. All right. Anne, I never got your other daughter's name. She just stayed Anne, so.
Lucas.
No, I know Lucas.
Can you put her name on her screen, please, your sister?
Oh, you can just tell me. I just want to know. Like, I can figure it out.
Oh, my name is Noble.
Is Noble?
Yes, Noble.
I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly. Thank you, Noble. And I just didn't think calling you Anne was appropriate, so.
You can just call me Isabel.
All right. Noble, is yours so cute. Oh my gosh. Is yours drying? Are you finishing up, I mean?
Almost.
Okay. All right. Morning, we're doing okay?
Just had to redo like one of the wings, but I'm good.
That's fine, yeah. Like I said, even for me, sometimes I can look and go, that wasn't quite the balance I wanted, and you can go back and fix that. Awesome. So the next part we're actually going to do is we're going to start going in with some black, and we're going to start adding in some dimension. So this is where I would probably, I said we needed 2 sponges, this is where I'd probably grab a second sponge, or if you wanted to flip over the one you're using to the other side, you could do that. Just because I don't want, like I've still got some white on that part, I don't want the white to mix with the black because I'm not looking for gray. I want solid black in this part. So I've got a little bit of black right there on my painting, doing the same thing where I'm just getting the black right on the edge of the sponge. Again, I could probably, if it wasn't too much, I could do the other side of this sponge, but I've got one sitting here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be putting black on the edge of our wings and then more at the base of our wing and kind of feathering out. If you can see in the example, you can see how near the body, the wings, were just adding more depth by having more black right there. So I'm going to, just with the black right there, solid black, just do the edge of each of the wings. So the line like we started out with. And this black really makes the wings pop. It gives it definition. So I've got black there, and then I kind of pull the black from the corner of the wing where it attaches to the body. And I kind of just pull little bits. So it's solid black there down near the body. But then when I pulled it, I kind of pulled little tiny streaks and kind of left it, right? Do you see? So I kind of, just gently, I don't have to overwork that. This is black. Black is strong. We know black is very strong. Black is a very strong color. So we do not have to do that much to it. So again, just edging. Noble, this is where, if you are not sure about some of your shape, this is where you're edging the shape of your butterfly wing, right? This is where you're really saying, this is exactly where my butterfly wing is. And I'm gonna pull from the corner, kind of blend that into the wing. The other thing that I will do with a little bit of the black is come to the edge right here and do a few streaks of black on the end of my wing as well. Can you see that? I just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm kind of pulling and doing some streaks of black right there, and then I might even just do a couple little streaks of black near the center, but you don't need a lot. Just a couple little streaks of black there. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to, at the, oh, there you go, the end of my wing right there, do some some darker streaks, then maybe do a few inside the wing. So if you see now, we had that solid blue when we did the base, and it looked very, very flat. And now we've got all these different layers of colors, which are giving depth to the wing. We've got light and shadow. Our eyes read colors, are interpreting light and shadow all the time. So artists use that to interpret things with paint. So again, I'm going faster, a little bit faster, but also we've kind of already done this. We already outlined it in blue and filled in, but again, this black is not going all the way. Here we go. So you basically just see that it's black near the base of the body. We've got a little bit on the edge of the wing, and then maybe a few little stripes in the base of the wing. That's starting to look a lot closer to our example over there, isn't it? That's starting to look a lot different than just that solid blue. Noble, are you doing okay with the shading this time? Is this better?
No.
Like I said, this is also just our first class. This is all a learning process. So have grace with yourself. And like I also said, this is your version of my painting. This is not my painting. This is your painting.
This is what I have so far. It looks like a flower, but it's fine.
Well, we don't have the body in the center yet. So actually it does mine looks like a flower too. Looks like a 4-petaled flower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are going to go back in and add one little bit more highlight. So I'm going to grab my other sponge that I had with the blue, which I don't mind putting white in there. And I'm going to go in onto my butterfly in the center of the wings and just do a few little lines of white now. Just in the middle. So we're adding a highlight now. So we added some darker streaks, and now I'm going to add just a few little white ones. And yes, sometimes I make noises because it makes it feel like it goes in easier. I don't know. So just that, like just a few little ones. That's it. Because our eye likes to see the difference between dark and light.
I can't, I don't have room to fit the body on it, so can I just turn it into a flower instead?
You will. All you'll have to do is you'll just paint. The body's going to be in black, so it'll go over top of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we are actually at the home stretch where we're just going to paint in the body. So if you have any questions at this point, if you want me to see where you are and say, hey, do I need to fix anything, or what do you think? I am here to help on that part, as we're just kind of finishing out. So now you've seen we've layered in, we had dark blue, we had light blue, we've had black, we added white. lots of different shades. We've shaded more near the body of the butterfly.
I'm done.
Oh, you did the body already?
What body?
Of the butterfly.
Oh, no.
Well, that's what we're gonna, okay, you're done with the wings.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I will show you what the next part is then. Okay.
So we're using a paintbrush for it, right?
We are gonna use a paintbrush, yes. This would be way too hard with a sponge because we're gonna try and do something smaller. So with a paintbrush never wants to go into paint while it's still dry. A paintbrush always wants to be damp. That will help it with flow. It will also not absorb all the moisture out of our paint. So I always take a paintbrush. I have my water. Look at my beautiful water mug, only used for paint. Do not drink out of this thing. And I always put it in the water, and then you just kind of drag the edge, or the paintbrush onto the edge, just to get the extra moisture off, right? So it's not drippy wet. Our paintbrush is never really drippy wet. It is moist. I need just like one more dot of black. There we go. So our butterfly shape, let me show you on the example so that you can see. Our butterfly shape, if you see the head is kind of like a trapezoid. It's smaller at the bottom, a little bit wider at the top, and then kind of goes in, and then our body goes out. It doesn't have to be exact like that. I was just showing you what this one is. The main part is the fact that our body is the thing that connects all the wings together. Right now, I actually kind of have a space in between my wings. So I'm gonna make sure with my paintbrush that I go in first right here, and I just go ahead and do a line to the body and make sure everything is connected. Now Noble already connected everything, so she's already a step ahead, so that's fine. I have to catch up with her now. So my wings, I can use my paintbrush to make sure everything are now connected. And then this part of the body, maybe it's swooping over that way because maybe my butterfly is in flight, right? So it's in motion. Not going to be just straight stick. It could be curved. And then got this. I'm not really sure the shape of a butterfly head, but it looks good enough to me. Looks like a little head right there. And then I just do 2 long antennae. Now, to make skinnier lines with paintbrushes, you push less pressure on. So you pretend like you're drawing with a feather. You don't push really hard on a feather. You would just really let it glide, right? And that comes with practice, so do not worry. If you're like, oh, I completely messed up. That pressure comes with practice. Now I do want to show you, so I still have some chalk lines that are left over. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to let my paint dry, and after my painting is dry, I can take one of my sponges that's slightly damp and just wipe any of those chalk lines off, and it disappears and no one knows that they were there, and it's our little secret. But if I were to try to do it right now when my paint is wet, it would probably smear what I did and I would get very upset. Don't want to do that. Don't want to do that at all. Noble, are you finding a place for your butterfly body? Because it can just go over top.
Not really, but I'm gonna try
Okay.
to do something with it.
Yeah, you can do, if I had yours, I would just go ahead and use the black and just put the body right there. So it's almost like you're up underneath the butterfly and you're seeing the butterfly body that way.
Yeah.
I was also reminded by someone recently, they're like, don't forget to sign your artwork. So
Why?
why? Sometimes it's just being able to take ownership of something that you created. Also making sure no one else can take credit for the thing that you created.
But I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah, if you sell it, then you don't want someone to take credit for it, right?
But they can. I don't care what they think about it because I got money for it.
Right, but then they could tell other people that that was theirs, that they made
If they feel that way, then they can feel it.
it.
Or you could just stop.
And it would probably be a bad idea to give someone something that has another person's name on it.
Well, in the artist world, that's something that they're being able to show this is their piece of artwork and stuff. All artists will sign their name. I bet the painting that's behind your mom has an artist's signature somewhere. Sometimes it's not very well seen, but a lot of times they'll put it somewhere that you can see it. So for me, if you wanted, you know, you took this and maybe you wanted to just put it right along the wing. Right there. And you can't really see it, but when you get up close, you can see that there's a name now on the side of the wing. Sometimes artists will do that, will kind of hide it within the painting. But they still sign. I bet you there's more signatures on things than you realize.
So I'm done, and I don't think it looks that good, but I give up. So yeah.
I don't think that that looks bad at all, and I'm glad that you stuck with it.
It looks, also I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay, well, for a first class, I think that's pretty good, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Especially because you said that you like to draw more than paint. So this is, I'm teaching you to ride a bike for the first time. You're not going to
Yeah, I
get it.
just made this today. But yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording because I have finished with all the instruction, and I will stick around to answer any questions. So thank you guys for sticking in for the very first homeschool art class.